my other computer now, and I'll be sharing slides in a moment.
Okay, so I'll probably start, Zoe.
Excellent. Could I just ask that all of the presenters and speakers, just when you're not speaking, please could you go on mute? We've had some guidance, or we've been sought out some guidance from those that are hard of hearing, and they've said that any sort of little crackles in the background really make a difference. So if you could just go on mute when you're not speaking, that'd be fab. But if you're in the in conversation with section, please don't hesitate to stay off mute so that you can freely jump in. And
thank you, Zoe, for that reminder. I'm just going to say hello to everybody. A number of you have already joined us. Welcome to today's session. Well, we're excited to have another session to learn from each other and to just share our experiences. So if you're joining us, can you please share with us who you are, where you're joining from today, and one thing you're doing to look after yourself during this really, really difficult time. So please use the chat box and share that information with us and send it to all participants. I can see a number of you have already joined, quite a number already using the chat box, which is good. Welcome and thank you.
Welcome everybody. Paul Woodley, would it be possible that you could allow screen sharing, please? Thank you. Welcome everybody, back to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Zoe. My name is Elizabeth Nyawate, and I'm going to facilitate this session as usual with my colleague Zoe. I'm excited to join today's session only because I'm really keen to just hear and learn from you guys in terms of what you're doing during this really already challenging time. Here at St. George's, we are seeing a number of COVID patients already filling up in our wards, and staff are beginning to feel that strain again. So it's really, really important to step away from that and just be with you guys during this session, see what's going on for you guys, learn from you and share it across the organization. So for those who are joining us, please use the chat box and just share with us who you are, where you're joining from today, and the one thing you're doing to look after yourself or to look after your colleagues. And also, we'll be running with 2 hashtags today, hashtag caring for NHS people and hashtag Project M. So if you're on Twitter, please share with us your Twitter handle, and throughout the session we'll be tweeting, and you can use the 2 hashtags as well. I can see a number of you are already using the chat box, which is great. Welcome to Julie from Jersey. Welcome to Sarah from North Bristol. And Alan, thank you. So please keep using the chat box and just share with us where you're joining from, and also the one thing you're doing to help your health and well-being during this really difficult time, or the one thing you're doing to support your colleagues at work. If you're new to these sessions and you're joining us for the first time, we've built a health and well-being virtual community, and if you can take us to that slide that has the link. The next, yes, thank you. Feel free to join the mailing list, and this is where we share all the good practice we have, all the learning we are doing, and all the support we have for caring for NHS people can be found on that link. So please join our mailing list by clicking on that link and share with us your practice, and also use that link to just learn from what's going on throughout the country to support the health and well-being of our colleagues.
So welcome everybody. My name is Zoe Lord, and welcome to this community event all about supporting managers and team leaders support each other. Today is our 18th session, and we do welcome everybody who's been joining from the Project M tweet chat that we've hosted a couple of weeks ago as well. So welcome to everybody. If you haven't heard of Project M, we're going to have a great overview coming up shortly. It's all about supporting managers and leaders within our organisations. So today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to bring support, ideas, knowledge and wisdom for those in a role supporting the health and well-being of our staff. We're going to be sharing a range of wellbeing support activities, and hopefully in the chat box we're going to be connecting with each other as well. For those of you who are new to this, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview. So we've had 17 of these sessions to date, with more than 7,000 participants. We've had 120,000 views of these sessions, and if it is your first one today, then please do head over to the Horizons website for all the videos, and we'll put the link in the chat box for you of those as well. We do review everything that's said in the chat box, so if you've got any ideas, thoughts, or would like to give us any feedback, then please do add it into the chat box. And you can see there's 130,000 words that have been shared in the chat box. As Elizabeth said before as well, we've got a newsletter, so please do sign on to that via the Horizons website as well. And we're on Twitter with 2 hashtags, caring for, that's the number 4, NHS people, and Project M as well.
On our agenda today, we will get an overview of the National Wellbeing offer from Adam Turner, and we will also get an overview of the National Wellbeing event by Ian, and we will hear about supporting leaders and managers to support each other during winter from Alan and Nikki, and we'll have a session on In Conversation with Zoe, Jacqueline, Alan, and Adam. And me and Zoe will close the session today with our usual closing remarks and a call to action, and also share with you what will be coming next. And on the team today, you've met me and Zoe. We are your facilitators today. Our contributors, we've got Adam, Ian, Alan, Nikki, and Jacqueline. Behind the scenes supporting this session, we've got Paul, who is our technical host. On the chat box, we've got Karen and Louise. On YouTube, we've got Lindsay, and on social media today, tweeting throughout the session is Kerry. Thank you and welcome. So we're going to begin by hearing about the National Wellbeing Overview, and we'll hear from Adam. Adam works for NHS England and NHS Improvement. He's the Improving Health and Wellbeing Lead at NHS England and NHS Improvement. Welcome, Adam.
Wonderful to be here, thank you. So if I can have the next slide, please. Wonderful. So I'm going to start with a bit of celebratory news and thank yous. I'm going to give you a bit of an update on our national offer, and then I'm going to spend a lot of the time talking about this long-term health and wellbeing service transformation and culture change agenda, which probably sets the scene really well for the rest of the session today. So next slide, please. So I'm going to start with the celebration, and I have to pinch myself in some respects to say we won recently, not 1, not 2, but 3, and overall winner awards in the Personal Today Awards 2020 for the health and wellbeing work that we've been doing in terms of health and wellbeing, HR impact, and the overall winner. I just think this is, you don't see this kind of thing often in the space that we work in. And I just want to say, first of all, a big, huge thank you to everyone on this call, everyone who can't be here that made this happen, all of your support to get the wellbeing offer since I think we started working on it back in March. To have this recognition is epic, and each and every one of you have helped us to create these offers, to get them out there, to support our people. Just a huge thank you. And likewise, all of you on the call and all of you that are seeing this webinar after today, all of you are essentially contributing to this by passing this on to people. You've all had such a big impact, and we can't say on behalf of NHS England and Improvement, Health and Wellbeing team, all of us on the call, thank you so much for making this happen. So next slide, please. Just to give a quick update in terms of the national offer. I won't go into all the stats, but you can see they're steadily increasing in terms of all of the engagement, which is absolutely fantastic. And if I could have the next slide, please. However, we don't want to rest on our laurels, and I'll probably take us to a bit of a sombering place in terms of we're entering winter pressures. Now, that's a challenging place for the healthcare services, regardless of COVID, but we have COVID on top of it. We now have the mass vaccination programme, which is unprecedented. All of this is unprecedented, and we know our people are burnt out. We need to give them the support they need. Now, we know the national offer complements regional offers, system offers, and organisational offers. It's one of a package of support, but we do still need your help to share that with people who need it. When we say to people, have you heard about it? Often we get, oh no, we haven't, but it's a great offer. How can we share this? So again, our ask of you is please do share it. And this links nicely, I think Ian's going to talk to us a bit more in a bit around how we're going to do some work to try and spread the word about our national offers. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to talk to you about what I think is a really exciting longer term view. And it takes us into this longer term pre-COVID, post-COVID space of the health and well-being of our people is so important. COVID has had a positive impact in terms of raising the profile of looking after our people that, you know, we're really trying to maximise at the moment from a national systems level. However, we can't rest on our laurels. And we know that within the people plan, in fact, when you look at it, of all of the areas in it, quite a few of them, well, if not all of it, you could argue, links to improving the well-being of our people. When we've done all of the engagement with our systems, we recently ran a prioritisation exercise, and with 42 systems, health and well-being came at the top of this. And when we take a step back, working with all of our system partners, the feedback we're getting from yourselves, we know that actually we need to take a long-term perspective on this. Now, looking after and supporting people is great, but we need to step back and think about the long-term and, dare I say, prevention agenda, the culture change agenda, the transformation agenda, to make this a long-term transformational piece. And I'm going to share this with you, and I'd love you to take this away. We've started to say nationally that this is the biggest public health intervention in the world. And I'll let that land with you for a second, and let me justify it to you. So caring for our staff, we know they care for our people, our patients, our service users. Looking after 1.34 million members of healthcare people and all the people that they look after is one of the biggest public health interventions in the world. And that's why we want to take the space, not just in the support now space, but the long-term prevention space. Next slide, please. Where we're doing this and trying to create, and again, sorry for the messiness of this, this is literally in the moment thoughts we're having. We have a interventions and support package, which we've talked to a lot with you already, like I mentioned, the offers that we still need your help to get out there. The other side of it is the prevention, the staying well agenda. We talk lots about sickness absence. We want to move away from that because it's too late. If we look after our staff, help them to look after themselves, look after each other, help our managers to look after their people, as well as looking after themselves as well, helping them stay well, improve their well-being, that is epic. We want to move more into that space and rebalance our focus of effort. So we're looking at having an offer that is about supporting people when they need it, training and learning and developing people to look after themselves, but also look after other people if you have a pastoral or a manager, a leader role, and also moving into how do we change the culture, our services, to focus on prevention just as much as the support. So next slide, please. And to do some of this, we've got, I'm just going to share with you, this is a bit of a high level work plan over the next 4 months. You'll see some of the themes in here that we're focusing on over the next 4 months. Lots of it comes down to managers. And again, this is the focus of this session, so I won't steal too much of the thunder around that. But, you know, helping managers to look after themselves, to look after their people is a big focus and one of the biggest areas of change that and support that we're picking up on working with our stakeholders. There's obviously good support. There's also a lot around occupational health and wellbeing services. they've probably had a challenging time for many years, because it's an easy service to not support, but oh my goodness, they've stepped up to the mark, and we need to help them to raise above that, nurture them to actually transform into a space where they know they can be, to really rise to the challenge of supporting our staff, to work in this prevention agenda as well, and that's a big focus area for us as well. The psychological support offer as well. I mean, you've probably seen just as well as I have all of the challenges from a bigger public health perspective. Mental well-being of our wider population is challenging. Think about that in a care space and looking after our people in healthcare who look after us. We know we need to do more there. And also there's a big thing around capturing learning in all of this and putting this into our interventions, such as the health and wellbeing framework, which we're looking to refresh, by the way. Into helping organisations and the system raise the bar on what good health and well-being looks like from that change perspective, that culture change perspective. Next slide, please. So this is some early work we're focusing on. In this as well, in this service transformation agenda, I'm just going to share with you some really exciting, tangible projects that we're starting to see have some deliverables now. So we're investing a huge amount of money to enable services to develop at pace in this space. So £15 million has gone into 14 systems to develop an enhanced occupational health and wellbeing offer for their stakeholders in the system. So we've calculated that across these 14 systems. Around 800,000 health and care people. We believe that to be about 45% of our NHS workforce. By enhancing occupational health and wellbeing services in this service transformation space, not only are we rapidly helping people being supported over the next few months, but longer term as well, we're creating this culture change, this service transformation change to put the well-being of our staff at the heart of what we do, and really ramping up the preventative agenda as well. The other side of it as well is we know that, you know, mental well-being is a big challenge as well. So complementary to that, we're developing with our systems what we're calling mental health and wellbeing hubs. And likewise, this is about intensive specialist support in this area. We know for a real life example, people say to us that I don't really want to tell my organisation, my manager, that I, you know, my mental wellbeing is challenged. However, people are more likely to go to an impartial service in a system. So that's some work we're doing now. And over the next 4 months, we're really ramping up working with systems to create offers in this space. And again, I land this in service transformation space. We're working with our improvement directorate colleagues to treat this as such a service transformation intervention as well. And again, our ambition is to create a wellbeing culture for our people, focusing on prevention, not just support. It's a mega exciting agenda. Next slide, please. And finally, just to say that longer term, under this wellbeing culture space, we're identifying themes working with our stakeholders, people like you in our system, in these system transformation spaces. For example, wellbeing culture is a theme in its own right, but underneath that, there's something around how we work on national policies, such as in the health and wellbeing space around transforming the health and wellbeing framework into a culture transformation tool. There's also work around the wellbeing conversations. Now, people see those as one of the biggest policy interventions to make that change, because it's enabling people to look after people. There's a big thing around digitally enabled as well. And oh my goodness, I'm talking to you through virtual meeting technology, Zoom. COVID-19 has helped us to really think through what digitally enhanced wellbeing could look like. The apps in this space sit nicely between self-help and the space of clinical therapeutic help, because they're clinically based as well. We need to do more in that. Equality, diversity, inclusion, and also, you know, intersectionality. When you look at all these areas, people are diverse and different. We need to tailor our offers, our support, our transformation work to speak to the wonderful diversity of people that we have in our health and care system. Health and wellbeing services, enabling them to transform as well, is a big focus. And a huge focus, like I mentioned, a huge focus is leadership and management, both in terms of, it's often forgotten that leaders and managers need support too, but also we need to help them to help their people, help our people. And I'm going to step back there and just say that again, this is a huge amount of exciting transformational work that we're looking into a very long-term plan around this. And I will leave it with you again as we move into the rest of the session. This is the biggest public health intervention in the world, and I would love you to share the message around that, because I haven't come across anyone who hasn't said, wow, that's powerful. In fact, I saw someone in the chat say that, so it's mega exciting. Hopefully you found that as an exciting space as I do, and we'd love to hear your feedback, and hopefully you'll be working with us to transform this exciting agenda going forwards. Over to Zoe now, who I think is going to take us through some of the national offers in a bit more detail.
Lovely, thank you ever so much, Adam. So if you've got any questions for Adam, please do put them in the chat room, and we'll have some time for questions later in the session as well, and Adam will be able to share his thoughts with us again later. So what we wanted to do, as you are all agents of change and agents of sharing the message about the national offers, I wanted to share with you a few new things that are on the website. So I'm just going to share the website now, just in a moment. As this comes up, here we are. So hopefully already you have seen the website. So and I can see some nods in those with cameras on already, but I just wanted to show you a few bits. So if you haven't already been on the website, this is the people.nhs.uk website. So this is where we put all of the national offers. So we've got a front cover here, a front page, which is highlighting some of the national offers. We've got a tab here which is all about the pathways. So whether you are a team leader, a mid-level leader, an executive, you're a health and care professional, you're a mental health professional, and we've got some coming soon, we've got some support for those working in social care. So if I just click on here, the support for team leaders, you can see some of the offers that are available here. So I'm just going through these because I know we've got quite a few new people joining us on their first session with us today. So you can see that we've got coaching and mentoring for leaders here. There's leadership support circles, and there's lots of evidence-based behaviours about leading through COVID. So how to look after yourself, which is really importantly, speaking with others, being inclusive, and maintaining routines. So I'll just scroll slowly back to the top there, but there's lots more information on these pages. We've got a section here about, I'm going to go back to guides and bite-sized learning. So on here, we've got lots and lots of different clips. There's some that are from TEDx. There's a few things about managing and building resilience in your energy, and I'd really suggest having a look at this one here, the one with the 3 pink hearts, supporting others in difficult times. That's an excellent offer that's within that one, but all of them are fantastic, and there's so much variation as well. Under blogs and notes, we've got lots of different thought pieces, and there's one there from Jacqueline Davies, and Jacqueline will be speaking shortly. And then we've got the events tab, which has got lots of events like this one that you can join. And the final tab that I want to show us is the support now. So I've accessed this a lot myself, this tab, and I've been looking through and I've been sharing this with others as well. So the support now has got lots of offers about the staff support line, the bereavement support line, and it's at the bottom we've got counselling, wellbeing support, common rooms, and right down at the bottom we've got loads and loads of apps. So there are 9 apps in total where you can, they're all free to download. There's one about city parents, they've presented before for us, support for working parents. We've got Daylight, Headspace, and just to name a few, Sleepio and Unmind, of which I've used many of them already. I found them to be a great benefit. So that's just a whistle-stop tour of the website, so that you can see what it looks like if you haven't seen it since there's been additions, so that you can see the changes and you can share that with others as well. So Paul, we've got a little poll now, haven't we? So just as Paul gets that ready, you should be able to see on your screen whether you're with us now in Zoom or you're with us in YouTube. Let us know, is your workplace publicising the national offers within your workplace? So 1 is not at all the way up to number 5, very well publicised. So if you can't see the poll, then please do comment in the chat room in both Zoom and YouTube. Let us know your number. Is your workplace publicising the national offers within your workplace? And if you'd like to comment as well in the chat room, then please do. So let us know why it's a 1. Have you got other offers that your organisation is sharing? Have you adapted the national offers for the local? So please do share with us in the chat room. And if we could end that poll and we can all see the results, Paul. Okay. So we've got quite a lot in number 4 and number 5, but also quite a lot in number 1 and 2. So it'd be really, really helpful for us to know whether why this is and what is happening within your organisation. Thanks, Paul. And we can just close the poll. So Ian, my colleague Ian's going to share with us some exciting events that are coming up.
Thank you, Zoe. So as Adam and Zoe have outlined, we want to make the National Health and Wellbeing offer even better. And there's an opportunity to do or to contribute to just that this coming Friday morning. So Friday the 11th of December at 9 o'clock, everyone is invited to this virtual workshop. And what's this virtual workshop going to do? Well, our task is to ask ourselves a really searching question. How do we amplify the National Health and Wellbeing offer to get even more people using it? That's the task that we are going to be leaning into on Friday morning. Already, we've got many people wanting to attend. So we've got over 100 people who have registered to attend this virtual workshop. So we know that the debate is going to be lively and it's going to be interactive, but we would like even more people there. So if you're free on Friday morning and you'd like to attend, then please do register and come along. You're more than welcome. And I can see that the link has been popped into the chat room. The conversations that people want to have on Friday morning are already building. We've had requests to talk about how do we reduce the stigma around accessing wellbeing offers. Also about how do we connect with people who traditionally we may find hard to connect to. So how do we reach people who traditionally we're not very good at connecting with? That's a conversation that somebody wants to have. Not only that, not only are there conversations that we can all have to improve this offer, but also you can learn from other people. So we're going to have a couple of case studies as well from people who've rolled out aspects of the national offer within their organisations. And we're looking to hear from both the trust and commissioning colleagues with regards to how they have used the National Health and Wellbeing offer. So please do come along to that event. So there's still time to register, as I've said. So pop onto that link and register and come along on Friday morning. But fear not, if you can't attend on Friday morning, there are still opportunities to contribute to this debate and make the health and wellbeing offer even better. So what we'd like you to do, if you've had a look around the website, and you've got some ideas about how things could be done differently or about how we amplify the message in certain areas, pop it into the chat now. We take all the chat comments and all the suggestions and we build and we use them to develop the offer for you. So please do use the chat box now to sort of give us your suggestions around how the health and wellbeing offer can be amplified and improved even more. Not only that though, if you can't make Friday's event, then there will be further opportunities. We are looking to run in the new year a series of adopt and adapt sessions that we're going to run locally in regions. Yeah. So again, there will be an opportunity to have the conversation about how do we locally use the health and wellbeing offers in our particular region. So again, look out for that. We'll certainly be advertising those as part of these monthly wellbeing webinars, and of course we'll pop them on the our NHS People website also. So there's a couple of ways that you can contribute if you can't make Friday, but if you can make Friday, ideally we would love you to come in and help us and get that debate going about how we make this even better. Thank you, Zoe.
Fabulous. Thank you, Ian. So I've seen a couple of messages in the chat box to say it's fully booked. We will open the doors to make sure that you can get in. So check again tomorrow, block it out of your diary, and then we will unlock it so more people can come in. So must have had a little bit of a rush. So delighted that more people want to come, and we'd love you to as well. So we'll unblock that link and enable you to join us. Thanks ever so much, Ian. So if we go on to the next slide, Paul, we've got Alan Nobbs going to talk to us, and Nikki Squelch, and you're going to tell us about Project M, aren't you? Over to you.
Hello, my name is Nikki. And yeah, as Zoe said, we're going to give you a little bit of an overview of what Project is, how it came about, and really why now. And tell you a little bit about what we've learned to date and the link to the Wellbeing Agenda. Just thought it might be nice to let you know a little bit about me. And I'm actually really interested in wellbeing. I live with post-traumatic stress disorder, so I've really had to lean in quite a lot, not just this year, but for the last 15 years, to make sure that I stay on track. So for me, I think the pandemic has really highlighted that you don't have to have the lived experience to care about well-being. It's actually everyone's role and everyone's job. So let me just go straight into the next slide, if I can, please, which is what is Project M. Our NHS People Promise really provides a framework of how we all work together to improve the experience of working in the NHS. You know, being a united team has never been more important. And there's real recognition that line managers and team leaders are really experiencing unforeseen levels of fatigue. You know, we've got the winter's pressures coming on, just as we, we've done the whole COVID already, and we're going into vaccines, and there's so much that's going to really have an impact on how we all do things and do them well. And Project M is a real recognition that our line managers and our team leaders across health and care could really connect and be re-energized by each other. So we want to provide a specific place and space on people.nhs.uk, so on our key website, for those line managers and team leaders who manage approximately 90% of the workforce to really, really connect and stay well together. Now, the next slide, please. So let's tell you a little bit about what it is, or rather what we are still developing. It is a work in progress. And the aims are to fulfil the ambition of our NHS long-term plan and people plan, in that it's going to provide resources and support to nurture the next generation of leaders by supporting them with developing their capabilities to lead in unprecedented and challenging times, as we know. We also hope that it will embed that culture of compassion, inclusion and collaboration across the NHS, and there's real synergy with what Adam is leading with his work on wellbeing. It will equip our line managers with really practical tools and tips to effectively lead and support teams right now, but also way beyond COVID-19. And it really is about harnessing the talent and the goodwill of the Leadership Academy's alumni, but also all the talent that is out there, so that we can really think about how our line managers can really take advantage of our mentoring and coaching offers. So we've developed a single point for the line managers and team leaders to come to find these bite-sized resources and to help them navigate to help. And, you know, you just saw Zoe do a whistle-stop tour and everything's available. One of our key principles is making it as easy as possible for people to access and find it. So you're having one Project M landing spot where hopefully off that you'll find everything that you've told us is needed to help you survive right now and into the future. So to get to the point of developing this landing page and the initial first resources, we worked with Horizons to engage our managers and team leaders in a very different way. And that was with a tweet chat that was held on the 25th of November and another one that was held last Wednesday night on the 2nd of December. And we've really drilled into that feedback to have a look at, you know, what is really, really important right now for our managers and their wellbeing. So I want to share some of that with you now. If we can go to the next slide, sorry. So this is really feeding into what the wellbeing agenda is. And what was, when we asked the question, like, what are you really proud of? And I think it reflects some of the things that have already been said, that there was a real response from the majority of the people who participated in the tweet chat. They're really, really proud of how their teams have been able to quickly adapt and flex to new ways of working. And I think that one of the reasons that I'm linking this to wellbeing is that there was something that came through the sharing of that proudness that demonstrated the value of gratitude and appreciation, and how that will help people keep on going and keep well as well. I've written here that, almost again repeating what Anna has said, there's real recognition that managers really can't help their teams if they can't look after themselves first. The other thing that really shone through for both of the tweet chats was there was a real appreciation to have a space to connect and to share ideas just in that tweet place. So that's going to help us build what happens in the future. And the next slide, please. So when we asked in the first tweet chat, what are the challenges people are facing? And also we asked them what their top tips are, hence them being on the same place. People really, really highlighted the importance of role modeling positivity, but also how difficult it was to keep this going and keep on going. So the two key themes that have come through were really around self-care and team care. And really feeding into that, you can't pour from an empty cup, or you always have to, you know, fit your own oxygen mask before helping others. So if you get a chance to look at the Project M website, which I would encourage you to do, you will see that it starts with self-care and then goes into team care. The other thing just to share about this is the tips on of the top tips that were shared. So this is really showing that there is talent, skill, knowledge is out there, that if we have a space where people can socially collaborate, then there can be meaningful sharing and connection and learning. And the top tips was really leading the team with authenticity, and it was quite a prominent theme. And really out of that came a discussion about how you bring your whole self to work, and then it links to the next points, that it's okay to show your own vulnerabilities. It's okay to bring your human side and say, yeah, that was a tough shift, or I've had a tough day too. Right, okay, what can we do together to keep on going, being really your true self in that environment. The other thing was around leading and communicating with honesty, saying that you don't know the answer to something is okay. My screen just went out blank on me. Sorry about that. Hope you can see me. So being honest, saying that it's okay to not have the answers. And some people were even going so far as saying it's okay to admit mistakes, and it's good to apologize and say, yeah, I didn't do that as best as I could. And that was all part about, you know, being kind and showing empathy and compassion along the way. And the last tip to share that we learned is it's okay to ask for help, and to ask for help when you need help. And actually, we came from a leadership and a lifelong learning team event just before this call. And Perena Izaz said that that was actually one of her key learnings this year, is that it is okay to ask for help. So you can think of, well, if that's role modeling from the top down, then that's absolutely brilliant. So I hope that's given you a little bit of a flavour as a starter of what we're learning that managers want. And Alan's going to talk to you a little bit more about Project M, and we'll be available for questions as well. Over to you, Alan. You with us? We might need the next slide as well. Alan, are you there? Are you on mute?
Okay. It looks like Alan's computer has frozen for the minute, but we'll come back to him. And I think we'll now go to the In Conversation With section, and I'm going to bring Jacqueline Davies in here. Welcome, Jacqueline. Jacqueline, Alan, and Nikki and Adam. Jacqueline, shall I start with yourself first, if you're able to unmute? Do you want to tell us about some of the next steps for how we're supporting managers and leaders going forward?
Yeah, well, listen, here's Alan. I don't want to steal his thunder, but one thing I'll just say as a bridge to what Nikki's just shared with you is we dipped our toe in the water with hashtag Project M in Twitter. We weren't sure what to expect, and it's something of an experiment for us at the NHS Leadership Academy. And we went in thinking, actually, what we'll try to do is just connect our managers with each other in a peer support way, as Nikki said. And the bit that bowled us over was that literally in 2 one-hour sessions over the last fortnight, we've had almost 2,000 line managers from up and down the country get together and connect and share their wisdom and their tips and ask each other for help. And it's really kind of opened our eyes to how people are using social media for peer support. And as Nikki said, so the peer support element in Twitter is one big thing. The other big thing is the fact that we've built a website and kind of tools and resources and private communities of practice space for managers to get together and work through stuff as required. But the third big thing is about how we actually turn this virtual peer support into real human support with kind of real people in real places, using our fabulous mentoring network up and down the country. So Alan, over to you.
Thanks, Jacqueline, and sorry to colleagues. What a moment to lose your internet connection. It just shows how vulnerable we all are. I think I just wanted to offer something, and I think Ian spoke to some of the depth to which our tweet chats took us. And one thing that suddenly struck me is I'm a line manager. I'm a team leader. I work as part of that 300,000 people that we might sit arbitrarily talking about those people over there that need support and help. I'm one of them. And in the last 6 or 7 months, no more than ever in my career before, I felt the overwhelming sense of responsibility to be able to take care for the people that I manage and that I work alongside. And at times, I've struggled to understand how I even keep myself stable in amongst the waves. And I've not always been good at that in that space. And what really struck out for me in the 2 one-hour tweet chats was the enormous sense of relief that many people expressed, and I myself felt, at rather bizarrely, you might think, for the first time in the last few months, feeling that they are not alone. They're not the only person that feels these things, thinks these things, doubts themselves, and that actually the sanctity of a simple hour, the gifting of an hour of time for them to join and just have a conversation was in itself an intervention. People talked to feeling energized, reconnected, having regained a sense of groundedness. And what was surfacing for people was that the biggest thing that they need in terms of support often isn't our expertise, our knowledge and our interventions and our wonderfully designed leadership development programs or whatever they might be. Often it's the permission to connect with people like them. And what people were realizing was they had a lot more capacity and capability to support themselves and their teams than they had recognized and given themselves credit for, because they were hearing themselves speaking out loud and having their colleagues thank them for sharing. And there was a lot of learning to be had in and amongst that community. The biggest sense was connecting with people like us. So what's next for us is exactly as Jacqueline was just describing. How do we move from a static website resource where there's lots of valuable stuff already out there that, you know, many of us on the call have already designed and developed and advertised and marketed? How do we actually also augment that? So we're creating some social collaboration spaces. We might use the language of communities of practice. We might use the language of peer-to-peer support. But basically, this is going to be a space where those people who are just like each other can connect on their own terms, at their own time, set their own ground rules, and develop and deliver their own conversations, which we have demonstrated through tweet chats, is often all that is needed. They can signpost each other, they can share their own resources, and most importantly, they can help us understand what the gaps are between them, where we might have some expertise to add in and really bring that to life. But the next step is not just to connect in those virtual spaces. As Jacqueline said, our aspiration working with the community is to say, how do we put the human back into this? And how, wherever it's possible, do we connect human to human? Now, you know, for many of us, that will be possible as we're working in our organisational context and we physically see other human beings. But even in spaces like this, how do we get face-to-face connection where we afford ourselves time? So the next steps, working with the community, not for the community or to the community, is to think about how do we really mobilise the energy, the passion and the expertise that's already there, help them understand that they have all of the permission that they need and the capacity that is desired to be the biggest support that they can be, and that comes from within themselves and their community. So just by way of closing out, this is really turning how we might operate on its head. We're going straight to the people and saying, you know, what can we do that will be helpful for you? And when do we need to get out of the way? And that's a fabulous piece of work to be engaged in. So we're speaking to people just like me, people just like many of you, team leaders, line managers, in that squidgy, awkward middle between our execs and our frontline colleagues. And we're designing this together. Now, that comes with great risk, but great excitement. But my biggest ask of people tonight is, if you are one of those line managers and team managers, and you maybe just haven't taken the time yourself to step back and recognise that and acknowledge that, have a look at people.nhs.uk Project M. Join a hashtag Project M tweet chat. Have a chat with your colleagues who are team leaders and team managers. Get them engaged, get them invited. We're having our next tweet chat on the 5th of January for an hour. We know it's not the only way to connect. We know there are many people that we don't know how to connect with. But you can do that for us because you have your networks, your groups, and your leaders. So many people say, where's the marketing materials? Where's the project brief? When will this be publicly launched? That's not how this kind of stuff works. This spreads by word of mouth, by energy, enthusiasm, and passion. I find myself, as I'm talking to you, refilling my energy and passion for this work. I hope you're inspired and motivated to step aside from our responsibilities, which are to help other people in this space navigate this territory, and just to hand over permission to them through simple conversations, simple asks, simple signposting. The conversation seems to be the space and humanity seems to be the place. I hope you're with us as we grow our community and as we move forward to enable ourselves to take best care of ourselves and those around us. That's all I really wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Feeling your presence and energy there to join with you, and I hope everybody else is feeling that too, because there's so much that we can do with our power, our agency. There's so much we can do to help others and ourselves. So if we just go on to the next slide, and what I'll do is I'll invite Jacqueline in for some comments and also questions to Adam, Jacqueline, Adam and Nikki. Over to you, Jacqueline.
Thanks, Zoe, and Alan, you put that beautifully. Actually, this is an experiment, and we're learning. Actually, one of the sort of thoughts I've been having is that, you know, the longer we maintain our social distance from each other in real life, how is that affecting our behaviour online, digitally? What are we looking for? Are we connecting differently? I think they're really interesting questions to ask. And I, like Alan and Nikki, was really struck by the most powerful thing I heard in the tweet chats was the sense of thank you for seeing me. Yeah, so, and also thank you for connecting me into something bigger. So we were also kind of, and I should say very straightforwardly, unintentionally, stumbling into an area which is new for us, but also picking up the, you know, what connects us and is a sense of purpose, a sense of common and shared bigger purpose. And of course we know that, don't we? Then with hindsight, you can sort of interpret that. But I think when I was participating in the tweet chats, that was really palatable. You know, people were giving up time, they were feeding their kids, they were, you know, putting the kids to bed, you know, and people were making the time to get into that tweet chat because that was what they needed. And the kind of big takeaway for me was that, you know, are we getting into a space here which is, you know, we've seen the work on psychological PPE, you know, purpose, being part of something bigger, finding our team. And I think we started to get into that sort of territory, but it's sort of new territory for all of us. And the only other thing I would just flag in relation to this, and some of you may have heard me mention this in relation to the Leadership Academy activity more widely, is that we're seeing a real growth, Zoe, in appetite for leadership education and learning, quite counterintuitive. So, you know, Edward Jenner, for example, which is our first fully blended sort of early line management development program, has actually got now, I just did the figures in November, 21,000 people enrolled on it. Yeah, wow. 21,000 people. That has doubled since the beginning of pandemic. Yeah, applications for our national programs are up across the board at least 10%. And we're starting to see, even in places like the Executive Suite, which is like the executive version of some of the elements of Project M that we've just talked about. We've had, since we launched it in September, and this is a specific support for very senior executives, CEOs, boards, chairs, etc. We've now got 7,000 users. And of course, they're all using it differently. As Alan said, every individual will find their own journey. And some people will just visit the website and watch something, and other people are getting involved in action learning sets. So it's all new territory for us, and we're really keen to hear people's observations and thoughts.
Thanks, Jacqueline. So if you've got any thoughts, comments on what you just heard, then please do add them to the chat box. I'm going to come to Karen and Louise. What are you seeing in the chat box?
I don't mind go. Yeah, I know lots of support for the value of connecting in different spaces. I think we had throughout the leadership circles actually as well for NU8 and Joanne, but also for the leadership time. And there's a bit of a question about time and space and how to people define that, but it's of value. And I think one of the questions that's coming up is about how do we making sure that we're reaching people? There's something about clinical staff. Are we reaching clinical staff? Are we really, how do we hear those voices that perhaps we're not hearing at the moment?
Mm-hmm. Alan, over to you.
It's just reflecting some of that with back to Karen about how do we know who we're reaching. What was really fascinating, I think, for all of us that sort of sat behind the tweet chat was the very different audience that we kind of gathered together in that space, just within the space of a couple of days advertising. We had clinical staff, we had non-clinical staff, we had pretty much every band of staff, if you talk about banding in the NHS, logging in. We had people kind of saying, I'm not sure if I'm a leader or not. I'm not sure if this is for me or not. But I was excited enough to actually establish a Twitter account and join. Is it okay if I stay? We had an incredibly rich and diverse and very atypical audience for that kind of thing. And I know many people that were on that tweet chat have joined us in what tonight is their, that was their first tweet chat, and tonight it's their first health and wellbeing event. So will we hit everybody? Absolutely not. Are we hitting the breadth of the people that sit in that 300,000 more diversely? I think we are. And one of the really interesting things we've often wrestled with, how do we make sure the spaces are safe? How do we make sure the spaces are inclusive? How do we make sure we're respecting difference? It's really interesting that we try to bureaucratize that in some respects. And actually, most people in that tweet chat were saying, I can't believe how safe this space has felt for an hour to just be me, given that it's Twitter. And so people very quickly felt the sense of camaraderie and support, and were actually actively valuing the very different perspectives that were being brought by a whole range of different people. So it's early days, but I'm incredibly excited and buoyed by that, and we will be kind of keeping a track of that.
Thanks, Alan. Louise, what are you seeing?
Yeah, just to kind of add some other perspectives from what Karen's already flagged. There were some questions early on asking for clarification about how long some of the support offers would be available, and specifically around the apps. So perhaps Adam can answer that. And also timescales for things like the health and wellbeing framework refresh. So some of those nuts and bolts, as well as also advertising, any tools or resources that are available to help local advertising in addition to what we do nationally.
Thanks, Louise. Adam, do you want to comment on some of those? Because I know there's a brochure out, isn't there?
Yeah, so I think where we're at in this space is, and going back to my presentation, we're trying to balance that support now, as I'm calling it. So all of the amazing things, award-winning things, I've just got to get that in there again, that we've got for our people. And what we're noticing nationally is, if I speak to the apps, there's something about, let's do nationally what makes sense nationally, let's do regionally and systemically what makes sense in those spaces, and let's do what makes sense in organisations. The apps are a really great example of, it makes sense for NHS England and Improvement or a national body to commission those apps. I can't formally share with you in this space that they are likely to be extended, wink wink, for the next, at least for this financial year, but I just did. And so we're looking at extending those in the short term. What we're looking at longer term though is, what does this look like? So I alluded to this digital space, and we're really taken and curious about how does digital, and this links to Project M as well, because this very much goes in this space. Like Alan, Nicola, Jacqueline have been saying, that people are engaging in this digital space to look after their well-being, connect, and we're really curious about that as well. When you look at the apps, they are clinically based. So there's something about, particularly things like Sleepio and Daylight, for example, they're made by clinicians, and they are evidence-based to sit between self-help and clinical, direct treatment services. So I think in the short term, it's very much we're looking to extend those. In the long term, we're looking to get into a digital space, because people are engaging more in this way. And also there's a huge amount of work we can do around how can digital help people as well. And just in terms of the health and wellbeing framework refresh as well, to pick that up, Louise, is just to say that we believe that the next iteration of this very much can go into a culture change space, because there's so much more we can do in this space to say what good looks like and help our systems and organisations to do that as well. Just to say that we're starting a big piece, well, we've already started a big piece of work to say what does that look like, and we're looking in this co-creation space with system stakeholders, and we'll be looking to have your help in co-designing what the next iteration looks like rapidly, hopefully with a launch sometime at the beginning of the new financial year, pulling in all of our amazing learning throughout COVID. The wider, bigger agenda as health and wellbeing grows.
Fabulous. Thank you ever so much, Adam, all of our speakers and supporters as well. So thank you ever so much. Keep the questions coming in the chat box and we will continue to answer them in there as well. So a few final things as we close today. I was hoping you could join me, join all of us together. Colleagues and I were thinking this morning about January, the rest of this month and January, and how hard every January is for a lot of people, and how this January is going to be harder. People are going to have a crisis. Many of us will have a crisis. And there's a whole wide spectrum about what that crisis will look like. It could be one end of the spectrum is being quite withdrawn, right to the other far end of the spectrum of people expressing suicidal ideation. And there's very many variations in the middle there as well. What I'd love you to do is to join me to think about is what are the different variations along that spectrum? And do you know what you would do if somebody came to you and said, I need some help, or you recognise that somebody needs some help? And what would that roadmap for somebody look like? I know I get a telephone call quite regularly that says, Zoe, somebody needs some help. What do I do? And they call me because I work in the NHS. Little do they know that I don't work in mental health services or other services within our sector. But lots of people come to me, but many people haven't got a Zoe or a Nikki or a Jacqueline or an Adam or a you or a me to call. So what are those ways that is, what is the roadmap? So please do join me in thinking about, if somebody came to you this month, next month, the month after, do you know what the roadmap is for them? Could you help them get the right services that they require? And I just remember when we had very early days, we had a lady from Hospice UK come and talk to us on one of these sessions. I think it was the third or fourth. And she said her advice was, call us now, go onto the people.nhs website and call us now and see what the services are and build those relationships. So when you do need them, you know what it's like. So please do think about the different places along that spectrum and think about what you know is in your organisation, what is on the website that can help you, and do other colleagues know how to help each other within the organisation as well. So that's about others. And then the other thing is, how are we going to look after ourselves? And we'll be thinking and talking about these on our January session about how do we look after others, but how do we look after ourselves? And I think since day one of these sessions, we've been speaking about putting that oxygen mask on ourselves first. And how do we recognise that we need help and what help is available? So what I'd love everybody to do following this session is go have a look on the website and work out what is that roadmap for giving other people support. Look after you, look after your others. And what we did here through all of those Project M tweet chats is people know, we know how to look after others. We do that really well, but we don't do it as well for ourselves. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of extra things. That's my join me, join us, and let's think about how we can support each other and what is the roadmap. The other things that I'd just like to tell you about is a final couple of slides is next Wellbeing community event is Wednesday, the 13th of January. We've got the next Project M tweet chat, which is Tuesday, the 5th of January. And we've got the event on Friday that Ian spoke about. And we're going to be opening up the you know, it was fully booked, so we're going to open that up again so you can all join. So please do keep looking back, but block the time out of your diary already for that. So what I'd love you to do, if you're still with us in Zoom and in YouTube, give us a number in the chat room. We won't open the poll today. To what extent today's session's been useful in your own well-being and supporting others, and just give us a little number in the chat room of both Zoom and YouTube. So please do keep those coming in. Final thoughts and comments are: have a look at the website, join the communities, and really have a think about what are the roadmaps for our staff, what are the offers that we can access and you can access as well. So for myself and Elizabeth, all the speakers and the People Directorate within NHS England and Improvement, we hope that you have a good rest of December, have a good break, and we do look forward to seeing you in the new year. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, so goodbye, everyone.
So Paul, if you could do us a breakout room, and we'll say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for joining us.